There comes a moment in every life when the world grows loud, so loud that it tries to drown the quiet wisdom rising inside you. People will talk, they will point, they will judge, and they will question the very steps you take to save your own spirit. But my dear, there is a sacred power in choosing not to answer every call of doubt, not to bow before every whisper of criticism. There is a strength in standing tall, in letting the wind carry away empty words while you walk toward the life you were meant to claim. Today, I want to tell you about that strength, the quiet, unshakable power of ignoring others, so that you may finally hear the voice that has been waiting within you all along. When you learn to ignore the voices that try to shrink you, something magnificent begins to rise within you. You start to sense the quiet thunder of your own courage. You begin to understand that every person who speaks about you is really speaking from their own wounds, their own fears, their own history. Their judgment was never a measure of your worth, it was a reflection of their limits. And so you choose not to carry their limits on your back. You choose to let them stay where they belong, outside of the gates of your peace. Ignoring others is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of deep self-respect. It is saying, I will not allow your noise to silence my truth. There will be days when the criticisms come like heavy rain, falling without mercy. People may question your choices, laugh at your dreams, or try to remind you of a past you have already outgrown. But you must stand still in your own wholeness. Let their words fall where they may. Every storm eventually exhausts itself, but a rooted soul does not fall. When you ignore the storm around you, you give your inner weather, the calm, the clarity, the purpose, a chance to guide you forward. You begin to choose yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of a deep and necessary love for the person you are becoming. Ignoring others also means releasing the hunger for validation. It means understanding that applause is temporary, but self-belief is eternal. When you stop living for approval, you start living for truth. And the truth is this: you are allowed to walk away from conversations that dim your spirit. You are allowed to turn your back on people who bring no growth, no peace, no love. You are allowed to choose silence over chaos and direction over distraction. Freedom is found not in responding, but in releasing. And when you release the need to answer every critic, you rise above them without ever having to fight. In that rising, you discover something else. Your energy becomes sacred. You no longer waste it trying to convince people who cannot see your vision. You no longer spill it explaining your heart to those who were never meant to hold it. You invest it in your dreams, your healing, your growth. And as you grow, the world begins to shift around you. People who once doubted you will watch in awe. People who once whispered about you will fall silent, not because you proved them wrong, but because you refuse to be stopped by their voices. So walk boldly, with your head lifted and your spirit unbothered. Ignore the chatter that tries to pull you backward. Ignore the fear disguised as advice. Ignore the bitterness that tries to stain your joy. You are not here to bend to the noise. You are here to rise above it. And when you do, you will discover a beautiful truth. The power of ignoring others is really the power of finally listening to yourself. Silence is not weakness. It is a quiet power many people never learn to hold. There is a grace in choosing when to speak and when to let your silence become the answer. Some voices are not meant to be met with words, and some accusations are not worthy of your breath. When you stand in silence, you are not surrendering. You are simply refusing to waste the energy that was born for higher things. Silence teaches you that dignity does not always need a defense. It allows you to rise above the noise with a kind of elegance that arguments can never create. In silence, you show the world that your peace is more valuable than winning any battle of opinions. There will be moments when people will try to provoke you, not because they truly see you, but because they fear the strength that your calmness carries. They may speak loudly, hoping your silence will break. But you must remember that silence is not the absence of power. It is the presence of control. It is your spirit choosing clarity over chaos. When you decide not to respond, you remind the world that you are not moved by every shadow that passes your path. You are not shaken by every echo of doubt. You are rooted in your purpose, and roots do not tremble when the wind raises its voice. Silence can also be a mirror showing people their own intentions. When you do not react, their own noise reflects back to them. They begin to see that the storm they created was never in you, it was in them. By choosing silence, you allow their chaos to stay with its creator. You refuse to take it into your spirit. This teaches others something profound. You cannot be controlled, manipulated, or diminished by words that do not belong to your truth. Your silence becomes a shield, not of coldness, but of wisdom. It says, I know who I am, and I do not need your noise to confirm it. But silence is not only a shield, it is also a sanctuary. In your quiet moments, you return to yourself. You listen to the soft guidance rising within you, guidance that gets drowned when you let too many voices in. In silence, you reconnect with your strength, your vision, your worth. You realize that not every situation requires your presence, not every insult deserves your attention, and not every critic is qualified to judge your journey. Your silence becomes a place where your soul breathes freely again, untouched by the world's demands. So hold your silence with pride. Let it be the robe that drapes your confidence, the crown that sits gently on your spirit. Do not be afraid to walk away without explaining yourself. Do not fear being misunderstood. People who need to understand you will feel your truth without you saying a word. And those who refuse to understand were never meant to walk beside you. Your silence is your strength, your boundary, your wisdom. And when you choose it, you teach the world that you are not here to be shaken. You are here to stand, to rise, and to shine beyond the reach of any voice that tries to dim your light. When you finally learn to turn down the volume of the world, something sacred begins to awaken inside you. There is a music within every human soul, a rhythm that has been playing softly since the moment you were born. But most people never hear it, not because it is faint, but because they are too busy listening to the clamor of other people's expectations. The judgments, the opinions, the doubts, and the fears of others can grow so loud that they drown out the melody of your own becoming. But when you choose to ignore the noise, truly ignore it, without bitterness and without apology, you create space for your inner song to rise. You begin to sense your own pulse, your own truth, your own direction. And nothing in this world is more powerful than a person who can hear their own spirit guiding them. The noise of others often comes disguised as advice, as concern, as harmless commentary. Yet even gentle words can become heavy chains when they do not match the vision written in your heart. Some people speak from love, some from envy, some from fear, and some simply from habit, but regardless of their reasons, their voices do not deserve to overpower the music within you. When you ignore what does not feed your purpose, you give your soul permission to grow louder. You allow your intuition to take the lead. You begin to trust the wisdom that has lived quietly inside you, waiting for the moment you finally make room for it. There is a rhythm to your destiny, a beat that belongs only to you. But you cannot dance to it if you keep trying to match the steps of those who do not understand the path you're meant to walk. Ignoring others does not mean shutting the world out. It means choosing which voices get to influence your movement. It means honoring the tender truth that not every person is meant to guide you, and not every voice deserves a place in your sacred journey. The soul does not thrive in chaos. It blooms in clarity, and clarity arrives the moment you stop allowing noise to define the shape of your life. When you begin to listen inward, you will feel a shift. You may notice that your thoughts become calmer, your decisions become clearer, and your confidence grows steady. You are no longer swayed by passing opinions, no longer shaken by fleeting criticisms. The music within you becomes a steady drum, guiding each step with intention and grace. You start to trust that your soul knows the way, even when the world insists otherwise. And in that trust, you discover freedom. You realize that the truest guidance was never out there. It was always in you. So let the noise fall away. Let it fade like distant thunder, unable to touch the quiet power rising in your chest. Let your soul sing without hesitation, without interruption, without fear, because when you ignore the voices that were never meant to lead you, you finally hear the one voice that always belonged to you. And once you hear that inner music, clear, strong, and beautiful, you will never again let the world's noise drown it out. Every distraction you deny becomes a step toward your destiny, because distraction is the silent thief that steals more dreams than failure ever could. It comes dressed in many forms, sometimes as people who pull you into their storms, sometimes as doubts whispering in your ear, sometimes as the subtle craving to please those who never understood your purpose. But when you learn to turn away from these distractions, you reclaim the precious focus that your future requires. Destiny does not bloom in scattered energy. It blooms where attention is honored, where intention is steady, where your heart is allowed to walk toward what it longs for without being dragged sideways by noise that was never meant for you. Each time you ignore a distraction, you are teaching your spirit to stay loyal to the direction it was designed to travel. There will be temptations to react, to defend yourself, to explain your vision to people who cannot see beyond the edge of their own fears. But explanation is another form of distraction when offered to the wrong ears. You owe your destiny far more than you owe anyone's approval. When you choose not to respond, not to chase, not to argue, you are not being passive, you are being purposeful, you are saving your strength for the path that matters. You are reserving your voice for the mountains you are meant to move. Distractions may pull at your attention with urgency, but urgency is not the same as importance. The world may call loudly, but not every call deserves an answer from you. Some distractions arrive as opportunities, bright, shiny, tempting, yet completely misaligned with the truth inside you. They appear promising, but they pull you away from what your soul is quietly building. And so, you must learn to say no, not out of fear, but out of faith. Faith that your path is unfolding, faith that your time is coming, faith that your destiny is too sacred to be sacrificed for anything that does not carry your name upon it. Ignoring these distractions is not losing. It is choosing. It is choosing the deeper, richer, truer life waiting for you beyond the noise. Each step away from distraction is a step toward clarity, and clarity is the companion of destiny. When you refuse to be sidetracked by gossip, negativity, or the expectations of others, your vision sharpens. You begin to see the difference between what merely wants your attention and what actually deserves your devotion. You learn to protect your dreams like fragile seeds, knowing that not every wind deserves to shake them. You learn to honor your time like a treasure that cannot be replaced. With each distraction you deny, you open another door inside yourself, one that leads you forward, upward, inward, toward the person you are meant to become. And when you look back one day, you will see that your progress was not built on grand moments alone, but on quiet choices. Choices to ignore what tried to pull you off your path, choices to stay centered when the world tugged at your edges, choices to keep stepping forward, even when distractions came dressed as comfort or familiarity. You will see that your destiny was shaped not only by what you pursued, but by what you refused to let deter you. And in that realization, you will understand the beautiful truth. Every distraction you ignored was really an act of devotion to the life you were born to live. Your peace is a sanctuary, guarded as fiercely as you breathe, because there is nothing in this world more sacred than the calm that lives inside a steady heart. Peace is not something that appears by accident. It is something you choose, something you protect, something you build moment by moment with the decisions you make and the voices you allow near your spirit. Most people spend their lives chasing possessions, applause, or recognition, but the wise understand that true wealth is the ability to sleep with a quiet mind and rise with an unburdened soul. When you learn to ignore what threatens that peace, you discover a freedom deeper than any victory, a strength gentler than any praise. There will always be people who attempt to enter your sanctuary with their chaos. Some will bring their bitterness, hoping you will carry it with them. Some will bring their drama, believing that your peace is a place they can spill their unrest. Others will test your boundaries simply to see if you are willing to bend. But you must stand firm in your spirit. You must understand that not everyone who knocks deserves to be welcomed into the softness of your heart. Your peace is not public property. It does not belong to every passing stranger, every opinion, every criticism, or every demand. It belongs to you, and you alone have the right to choose who or what is allowed to stay. Guarding your peace does not mean running from people. It means refusing to let their storms drown your light. It means stepping back from conversations that bruise your soul. It means closing the door on negativity before it can settle into your thoughts. It means walking away from those who mistake your kindness for weakness and your silence for permission. When you protect your peace, you begin to communicate something powerful, that your well-being is not negotiable, that your spirit is not up for debate, that your inner calm is more valuable than winning any argument or pleasing any crowd. This is not selfishness. It is spiritual maturity. As you guard your peace, you will notice that your world becomes clearer. You begin to see who truly respects your boundaries and who only respects your availability. You begin to recognize which environments nourish your soul and which drain it. You start to understand that silence is not emptiness, it is healing. Stillness is not laziness, it is restoration. And solitude is not loneliness, it is the place where your spirit regathers its strength. When you honor your peace, you become selective, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You know what costs too much. You know what no longer deserves access to your heart. And in protecting that sanctuary, you transform. Your thoughts soften. Your voice becomes steadier. Your steps become lighter. The world no longer has the power to shake you the way it once did, because you have learned to choose yourself without apology. You have learned that peace is not a luxury, it is a responsibility. It is the foundation upon which your joy grows, your dreams take shape, and your destiny unfolds. So guard it fiercely, guard it tenderly, guard it without hesitation. For a person who protects their peace becomes unbreakable, unshakable, and beautifully free in a world that has forgotten how to be still. When you refuse to respond to small minds, you rise into a larger world, because the size of your spirit is revealed not by what you answer, but by what you rise above. There will always be people who live in narrow spaces, narrow thoughts, narrow dreams, narrow courage. They see the world through windows so small that anything bigger than their comfort becomes a threat. And when they cannot reach your height, they will try to pull you down to theirs. They want you to argue, to defend, to shrink, to doubt yourself, to step into their smallness so they do not stand there alone. But you must remember that the eagle does not stoop to explain itself to the earthbound. It simply rises, leaving the noise far below. When you choose not to engage with pettiness, something miraculous happens. You regain the energy that once slipped through your fingers. You realize how much of your strength was wasted on proving points that did not matter, on answering voices that held no power over your destiny. You discover that silence can be a ladder, lifting you beyond the reach of judgments that were never meant to shape your path. As you rise, the air becomes clearer. You begin to see your life from a broader view, a grander angle, one untouched by gossip, envy, or negativity. Small minds speak from the ground. Big souls speak from the horizon. Refusing to respond does not mean you lack the words. It means you possess the wisdom to know they are not required. A wise spirit understands that some conversations are traps disguised as invitations. Some arguments are designed not to seek truth, but to drain your power. Some people talk not to communicate, but to provoke. When you rise above, you refuse to let those moments consume you. You are not giving up the battle. You are choosing a higher battlefield, one where your peace is protected and your purpose remains intact. There is dignity in restraint, grace in separation, and profound strength in silence. And as you continue to rise, you will notice something else. The higher you go, the fewer voices can reach you. The opinions that once felt heavy now fall away like dust. The criticisms that once pierced you now fade into irrelevance. The small minds that once challenged your path begin to reveal their true size, not as giants standing in your way, but as shadows flickering at your feet. You realize that people who try to pull you down are already below you, and the only way they can reach you is if you lower yourself to their level. But you were not born to crawl, you were born to ascend. Eventually, you will walk into a world much larger than the one you started in, a world shaped by your resilience, your grace, and your refusal to be distracted by the noise of those who could not see your worth. This larger world is not physical, it is internal. It is a spaciousness of spirit, a freedom of mind, a widening of perspective. It is where your purpose breathes openly and your confidence stands tall. In this world, your energy is sacred, your peace is protected, and your voice is used only when it serves something higher. So keep rising, keep walking past the smallness, keep choosing the larger world waiting for you. For the moment you stop responding to small minds, you begin belonging to a life too big, too bright, and too beautiful for them to ever diminish.